About 18 months ago, I wrote 101 Power Crystals for an American publisher who are mainstream and do conventional books. So crystals for them was quite a big step forward, because apart from the fact that they did my crystalline standing stone in a Welsh stone circle, and I can still remember going, whoo, because I got a shock off it. And I think it woke up something in my consciousness as well. You know, I've always, when I've looked back, it's like that's the moment really that I was on Earth. Because before that I was only toehold, if anything at all. And all of a sudden here I was making contact with the Earth in a very grounded, graphic kind of way. And so all through my life I've visited wherever I've been, sacred sites, and have felt the power that was there. And I very often would pick up a stone from somewhere, just a bit of, you know, nothing fancy, just a bit of rock. And so when I said, yes, I'll do this book, what I said to them is, you can use crystals to link to the sites, and you don't actually need to physically go there. You can, so I call them crystal travel agents, and you can journey with them. And so when I was looking at, well, what sites am I going to put into the book, I had a picture in my head. Certain sites were going in, you know, my favourite places were going in, but something had a different agenda. And it was like, you can put this site in, this site, and have you thought about that one? And never mind that one, and we'll have this one. And I realised that when we'd finished plotting it out, we'd actually done a line around the world, which was an energy line, and which was bringing these sacred sites, old and new, like online. That was the only way I could sort of put it. Was, you know, it was like switching on a computer and joining up various sites, and there was the energy. So right up to the last minute, there was one particular site, didn't know if it had fit, because with these books you've got so many pages, you can't say, oh, I'll just have another 5 pages, please. No. But the editor made it fit. And it was like, yes, obviously that site needs to be in. And there were a couple of sites, I have to say, which I wouldn't have left out for anything, you know, but the rest of them really chose themselves. And some of them have crystals very much associated with them, and others have ones that we can link. So Keith's very kindly put some pictures up so we can have a look at some of the sites. So that was a site that had to go in with Tor and Well. What have we got next? This is Sedona. Now, as soon as I decided Sedona had to be in, look what arrived in the post. Friend was in Sedona, sends that. And then I found this other one, which is Sedona stone polished. And you can look at it afterwards. But these lines sort of echo the way that Sedona is. And Sedona's got such powerful vortexes. I sat with this one for about 5 minutes, just, you know, just like that. From the minute when I opened it, it was like, I'm on my way to Sedona. And they really do take you there, you know, energetically and in every other way except physically. The stone will take you and it will give you the energy, it will share the energy with you. So Sedona was a very important part of this picture that we were building up. We're jumping around here, but in the book it does actually follow the line sort of quite sensibly, or as sensibly as I could manage. So this is Mount Kailash, and it is a natural pyramid. As you'll see, there's another view of it later. It's a natural pyramid, and this is one of the mountains. It's so holy, nobody's allowed to set foot on it. You can go around the bottom, but the Japanese wanted to climb it, and there was actually an international protest about it, because it is one of the Buddhist sacred mountains. Although before it was Buddhist, it was something else, and they had a fight about it. And this lump to the side is the bit that was given to the other religion, so that it's still there. But way back in the Buddhist sutras, it talks about going into the rainbow crystal cave at the bottom of the mountain. And so normally I use Tibetan quartz for that, but we've got these lovely quartz pyramids, and I was having a little experiment with one of these earlier, and you can really take a trip with this to the top of the mountain, because you're allowed to hover over it. You're not allowed to set foot on it, in my experience. Even when you're out of your body, you're not on the mountain. But there's a wonderful story of a whole etheric city above the mountain, and you can go and explore that. And you really feel, the whole thing's about Buddhist Shambhala and this wonderful city where everything is peace and love. And I recommend having a play with one of these, or with a Tibetan quartz, and pop off and have a talk to this. Or you can do the circuit, because it's one of the holiest pilgrimages in the world. It's one of the most arduous as well, is to walk, and some people do it on their hands and knees, all the way around the mountain. So, with the aid of the quartz, you can just do it the easy way. I like that idea. So what have we got? So this is the top of Mount Sinai. And again, this is one of the really, really ancient sites. They're not altogether sure that this is the one that's in the Bible. That archaeologists love having an argument about this. I've found it, no, I've found it, I've got it. But the actual bones of the mountain are smoky quartz and chalcedony. And I have some wonderful big chalcedony geodes that came from there. Again, somebody brought them down the mountain on their back for me. And a big piece of smoky quartz. And you just fly with that. Sit on top of the mountain. And in the book, I used the experience that a friend of mine had, because I've put some experiences in so that you can see the sort of thing that will happen. And she had been very stressed out, shall we say, that her mother had just died. She'd lost all sorts of people, lots of grief, lots of pain. And she said she climbed up. She did it the hard way. She went up the steps. There's a hard and an easy way, so she went up, because that's the way the pilgrims go, up to the top. And she said she sat there, and the whole world fell away before her, and she was lifted up, almost physically. She felt like she was levitating. And she watched all this, and she said since she came back, all that grief, all that unresolved anger and pain and all these things, it had just completely fallen away. And what she brought back were two little stones, two little smoky quartz stones from the top of the mountain. So that's the sort of experience that people have up here. And you can get stones that come specifically from there, but it's quite difficult to track them down. So what is wonderful is if you pick up any piece of smoky quartz, it will link you there because it's got a resonance. All the stones connect. And I don't know if any of you have come across Mike Eastwood at Aristia has done a crystal oversoul cards. Claire knows. And I've just written a foreword to the book because he republished them. But his suggestion, theory, is that there is an oversoul which is responsible for all of that particular stone, wherever it is. And you can tune in and it will resonate. And that idea, certainly for this, journeying to different places, really seems to me that it works, you know. So what else have we got? This is the Priscilli Mountains. We've got a few of the Priscilli Mountains. If we get to the, that's the view from the top. And this is how, you can see in this one, how the rock, it's kind of in columns and pillars. And this is what they dragged, according to the archaeologists. Flew, according to some other, I like the idea that it flew. In some myths, Merlin flew it, but obviously it's much older than the Merlin myth. So big chunks of this fall off, and they don't really need much working because they're in the right sort of size. And if you sit up the top of the Priscilli Mountains, it's like bzzz. And the stone is incredibly magnetic again, and compasses just go crazy up there. So this is a piece that happened to fall off the top of the mountain when I was up there. A few bigger pieces, but they aren't transportable, also fell off and came down my back. So this is the spotted dolerite, and I mean it looks like the night sky. So this was a healing site way before Stonehenge was. There's loads of stone circles, loads of healing wells, and what the locals still do today, they take the water that's been through the rock as healing, so it's like an essence, a crystal essence, and that was done, they've got evidence that it was done 5,000 years ago. And believe me, there's a lot of water up here. When I went with a friend, and it was August. We should have known better, it was August, but we left the car at the bottom, got on the bus, and got to the top, and we're on the top of this ridge, we're coming this way, and the people on the bus said, "You're not going to walk that, are you? The tourist office say the route's closed, there's too much water." And I'm thinking, on top of a mountain, on top of a ridge. And Chris said, "Oh, we'll be all right, I've done it before," you know, and off we went. Well, I took one look at the sky and said, "I'm going to put an umbrella up, you know, this could get very wet." The whole time we were walking, there was this amazing thunderstorm coming towards us. And halfway along, Chris said, "I forgot my GPS." So I said, "Well, that's all right, we can see the outcrop." "Yes," said Chris. So we got to the outcrop, and there's a cave in the middle of there, so I sat in there, picked up a few bits, and then Chris confessed that every time he'd come down from there, he'd ended up in an even bigger bog. So he said, "I don't know the way, really know the way down." So this flock of sheep came along, so I said, "That's all right, we'll follow the sheep." He said, "No, we'll follow the ramblers who are behind the sheep." So we followed the ramblers into the bog. The only way to the bottom is through the bog, and it's almost like you have to go through the water. You know, you've done this, whichever way you do it, you've got to go through these bogs to get there. And the minute we got down, the heavens opened. I can't tell you how it rained. And when I look back, I realised why Chris thought we needed the GPS. Couldn't see the top cloud. Right down, you know, we would have been totally lost up there. But obviously we were meant to go up there and we were meant to come back with the pieces that we came back with. And Ancient Man, of course, hauled them, or, you know, flew them, whatever, to Stonehenge. And they are the earliest stones that were at Stonehenge, long before the very big stones were there. And of course Stonehenge is on this stuff, chalk. You plug this into chalk, makes the most incredible battery. I'm sure you could get sparks if you really worked at it. So what gave me the idea for journeying to sites was a piece of this bluestone. And I met up with Sue and Simon Lilly, who some of you might know, one day, and Simon said, "Oh, I've got a present for you," and he gave me this little piece of polished bluestone. And I went like that, and I was in Priscilla, you know, and so I thought, right, better come back because I'm in the pub, you know, so I came back. But went home and did this journey, and I've done it with so many people since, just holding a piece of bluestone, immediately end up sitting up on those rocks, looking at the earth currents as they go all around. And some people have found that they were looking at herbs, healing, zooming off around the world, repairing the earth's grid. It's always the same sort of experience. You know, obviously everybody has their own variation, but it's always, we're working with the earth energies. And Sue and Simon have now done a book called Healing Stone of the Ancestors. And to me, that's what this is really. It's kind of built-in healing, but it's not just for us, it's for the earth itself. So to me, this is one of the it's our stone really. You know, it's the English sort of magical stone, and you can go off and meet Merlin and Arthur and all of these things if you want to, just doing meditation with this stone. So what else have we got? Here they're planted. Now, they're in the centre now, and you can see the over to this side, there's a short one sticking up. That's one of the blue stones, and there's some more through that arch there. But originally, they were all round the outside, and they actually map a very long eclipse cycle. And I think, you know, people go to see the sunrise at Stonehenge, and it is magical. I remember in the days when you could just walk into the stones, I used to live not far away, being there, and it's just like the sun just hits you with all this energy. But you imagine being there during an eclipse. I don't know if any of you have been in an eclipse. We were right on the edge, you know, the one that was visible from Cornwall, so everybody went to Cornwall, and then it was quite cloudy. And a lot of people went down to Purbeck in Dorset, where I live, and it was cloudy. We were just a bit further up, and it was not bright sun, it was hazy, but the sun, you could see this shadow coming over the sun, and everything got still. The birds stopped, the insects stopped. It was just like time was absolutely suspended. And then we didn't get total, but it got pretty dark. And then it came out again, and it was like everything started up again. But you can imagine being in there during an eclipse and needing to know when the eclipses were going to happen so that you could do all the ceremonies, because they thought the sun was dying when there was an eclipse. And so all of this ritual and pomp and ceremony was to bring the sun back. But my picture always of Stonehenge is as a healing place. I used to see people being passed, every time I drove past, it's only down the road, so I go past. These stones become blue, not the blue stones, but the big stones, like a blue portal, and I see people being passed through. And I was really interested to hear an archaeologist saying that he thought it was a place of healing. And next week, I'm going to hear Mike Parker Pearson talking about his latest discoveries there, and apparently they found a lot more exciting things, so I'm looking forward to catching up on what's been happening. But what they have found is, in the centre there, you probably can't see it very well, over this to the left a bit, this, either there or this side, I can't tell from this view, there's what they call the altar stone. And they used to think that that was a blue stone as well, but it turns out it's actually green sandstone studded with garnet. And it also came from Priscilla. They brought it all the way. It's massive. I mean, you know, the blue stones are big enough, but this is massive. So garnet is a very powerful stone, and that's also been transported to this place to radiate all this energy out. And I live on one of the ley lines that comes from Stonehenge. Well, just off. And it's interesting. You can tell when people are doing things. Right, let's have a look at this. Now this is Lake Louise. And this is Canadian amethyst. And this is one of the Archangel portals. So I wanted to put in a way of getting in touch with the archangels. But this Auralite 23, which if you're here tomorrow, we will be having a play with Auralite 23. It's amethyst with, as the name suggests, 23 things in it. And I've got the list in one of the books, so I can never remember it. I mean, there's just so many things. But this is such powerful stuff. It's really extraordinary. And you can, although it doesn't come from Lake Louise is studded with amethyst all around it. And again in the book I've got a description of someone who went to find his special place. What does he find? A boulder that's covered in amethyst, or has got amethyst with it. So this is from a bit further across, but it's on a very powerful connection point. So this will take you quite quickly to Lake Louise if you want to go there, and then up to the Archangel realm, and you can have lots of conversations. Try sleeping with this under your pillow, and busy night, but you can talk to archangels all night. So this is Newgrange, and in Ireland, and the archaeologists have rebuilt it, and all the tons of snow quartz that they found, they made a wall with. But I found another alternative view, which said it should have been a pavement, so that it was like the moon. And there's lots of lunar and solar alignments at Newgrange. And one of the most famous is that the sun goes straight down the middle. And so one of the meditations I put in is to be sitting inside Newgrange, being cleansed, and then to be reborn. But any old bit of snow quartz, you know, the white quartz that you find on hills and riverbeds, and that'll take you straight to Newgrange. It's like it's a magnet. Boom, I'm here. Yes, I can walk in, and yes, I can turn around and the sun will come and fertilise me. It's extraordinary, the power of these stones. Very common stones. You know, this isn't, I mean, Auralite 23, yes, you pay a lot of money, it's rare, but a bit of white milk quartz, you can pick it up for free, and it has the same power. This is what fascinates me. It'll get you there. So, what else have we got? Another view of Newgrange. And this one's interesting. This is the oracle at Pipestone. Now, I would have liked to have brought some pipestone, but when I ordered it, I confused centimetres and inches. And I thought I was getting a little block. I actually ordered two, and they're both big. So I am actually going to get one of them cut up and try and get some small pieces. But this is where the American Indians went to get their pipe stone, literally their peace pipes. And there is the most wonderful, on the site, which I've got a link to in the book, there's a video of going in. There's some boulders which were very sacred, so you can say hello to the boulders, and then you can work your way up to the quarry, past the oracle, and into the, now it's quite deep. But to me, it is the place of peace. You know, I don't like flying. I've got no desire to get on a plane, probably why I use crystals to fly me there instead. But this is the place where, if you really want to go to the heart of the Indian nation, if you want to go to the place of peace, then get some catalyzing pipestone. And sit with it, or just watch, or use the pictures that John took for it. Just watch the video and you're there. And you can really put the piece into your heart, and then you can radiate it out to the rest of the world. And although the Indian nations were always at war with one another, you know, we think of all these lovely peaceful Indians, but they're always having fights with each other. They never fought when they were here. All the weapons were put down and they quarried side by side. So it really is a place of very deep peace. So what else have we got? Well, then we're back to Egypt, the Sphinx, and then back to Mount Kailash. That's seen from the other side. So my intention with this book was, as I say, to connect up these sites. We've done it in a different order. But when I was writing, I was thinking, where do I start? And I'd started with Lake Louise, but then it was clear that I had to be, it's like, that's the way forward. There's another one behind me. And in the way that things happen, I find it's wonderful. You get, if you haven't noticed, it's like prod prod. I saw this picture of an Inukshuk, and he's a stone figure that strides across the landscape. He would have, I've got a little one, he would have loved to come, but that was half my luggage allowance. You can't imagine how heavy they are, even tiny. But it was made of serpentine. And the one I've got, which is in the book, was carved by one of the locals. They're doing a project for the Inuits to carve and then sell. But what I loved about the whole idea with the Inukshuk is it linked to Kandahar. One of the Princess Alexandra, I think it was, battalion of Canadians were killed by friendly fire. You know how they manage this on an all too regular basis. And so the people who survived built an Inukshuk, and it's the most wonderful piece about what they do, and which I've copied into the book, and how it's a sort of site of peace, to try and bring peace to that area. And so this was a dual sign, and it was sort of, we started on the Arctic Circle, but we had to shoot across very quickly on a sort of side trip, and then come back again. Come in. And we ended in having come all around, down through America, across through England, and a few places that you'll never have heard of in Turkey and places like that, where I've been, and they just demanded to go in. Hacı Bektaş, Turkey. And they're uncovering at the moment in Turkey one of the oldest temples in the world. And I thought, I'm going to put that in. Oh no, we had to go back to Hacı Bektaş, which is a Sufi order, an extraordinarily peaceful place. Just one of these out of time places. And diaspora very much arrived at this point, you know, so it's like, okay, we've got to have diaspora and Hacı Bektaş and all the rest of it. And then we went through Egypt and across India and China and Hawaii with the piece of olivine that I spoke about earlier. And then it was definitely, we've got to go to Machu Picchu. As soon as I decided that, Machu Picchu stone starts appearing, and I don't know whether Keith had any. I've got some on, my daughter's got some on her website. It's such a gentle stone. It's a really lovely, quiet stone, and it just takes you there. You know, you don't need to ask it almost. It's like it picks you up. Here you are, drops you on the hitching post of the sun, where the sun, that was the centre of the world where the sun went round. But the question was, where do we end? You know, because almost go round again if we'd had another 240 pages.